Hi guys. Nothing would please me more today than to share with you the, I'd say this, well, the spring garden. I was going to say the summer garden, but when you see it by summertime, it is going to be over the top. But this is just the very beginning where the earth is pushing forth some very cute little herbs and flowers. So let's take a look at who they are. Starting with this guy right here. What's first starting to come up this spring is woolly spearmint. It's a wonderful herb, fantastic. If I have a choice between peppermint and spearmint, I'll always go for the spearmint. I just find it just so soothing. Interesting thing about plants in the mint family, their stems, let me see if I can get a stem for you, their stems are always square. So you'll never find a mint that has a round stem. It's always severely square, which is quite unique, but it does tell you then that it is indeed in the mint family. Same as catnip, or really what's called catmint. I don't know if Pickles will go for catmint though. She'll go for, mint rather. She wants catnip. See, she's more interested really in me than the catnip, but I think if I look around, I'll probably find a catnip somewhere growing in the garden. But let's go further. I want to show you something that surprised me today. Sometimes what happens in the garden is what I'd call happy accidents. I had growing on the deck an oxalis-style clover. I guess either birds, squirrels, or somebody tossed it over the edge of the porch, and what happened is I discovered the oxalis clovers started growing in the grass. I know that if they get too intense of a sun, they'll bleach that violet out, that maroon out. So I think what I'm going to do ultimately is, I'm filming outdoors, so you have to excuse the vespers, but what I'm going to do ultimately is dig this baby up, put it in at least put half of it up. I mean, it certainly is a steppable. Nothing's going to happen to this kind of plant. It doesn't really mind. It's pretty sturdy, but I think I'll pot one half of it, and the other half I'll enjoy on the porch. Okay, so my friend Pickles is sitting here on the steps that me and my buddy Kenny built last summer. She loves them. They're nice and wide for her. I just happened to notice, though, to the left of me is coming up lemon balm. Oh my God! If only you could smell it. They call it Melissa or lemon balm, but again, because it's in the mint family, it does indeed have, and I don't know if you get a close-up of it, you might not be able to, but it does indeed have a square stem. The great thing about the spearmints, and especially lemon balm, is it's very soothing and very relaxing. So I find when we get into those really sultry days of July and August, and you're really just kind of starved for something that'll soothe you, almost feeling kind of dried out, I have planted all sorts of chocolate mints, pineapple mints, and variations on lemon balm and Melissa all over the garden, and they spread, but not innocuously so. So what I find is I can take it's like a little oasis. You can take a break, and you just find yourself very relaxed by the aromatherapy. It's just a matter of crushing the leaves. It disperses the oil. It's fantastic, and there's so much of it, it's everywhere. Ultimately, the garden back here, this is what I call the secret garden, is going to have canopies. Wisteria will climb up it. I'll have trained clematis at some point. There'll be statuary and water features. But until the pips of lily of the valley completely in decay, and right now they're only just sprouting out their fantastic hypnotic fragrance, I'm not even going to touch a lawnmower to this, because laying out here in the summer, in the sun rather, is absolutely enchanting. And an example of the pips are, I have a football field of lily of the valley over this fence and beyond, but let's find one. Sometimes I just pick, I don't mind the dandelions either. To me, they're like little fairy froths of some sort, like a little fairy garden. But I pick thousands and thousands of these and put them in little mini bouquets. They're fresh with fragrance, by the way. The first and second week of May, you're never going to get your lily of the valleys more fragrant than this. But let's get a close-up, Kim, of what these beauties, lily of the valleys, look like. What's amazing is a flower this little can produce a fragrance so bold. And you know, although a lot of natural fragrances really can't be recreated in the labs, I have found that over the years, an age-old fragrance, Muguet de Bois, has come very close to a very natural lily of the valley scent. But it's amazing that these delightful little bells can create such a beautiful orchestra of fragrance. But again, of course, I'm not putting a few pips in a vase. I'm literally putting thousands in vases all over the house, so that when you walk in, it's just like, oh my God. You mix that with the other fragrances I'll show you, and it's incredible. It's funny, you suck the fragrance right out of them, so you can't enter to somebody else and say, here, smell this, because there's nothing left. I took it all. But there's plenty more where that came from. In this corner of the garden are the yellow rhododendrons. They're a little fussier than the pink ones, so sometimes the leaves are a little bit more yellowed. They're certainly fussier than the azaleas. My wife and I give them a lot of holly-tone, which really seems to improve the flowering, but sometimes the leaves are a little bit undependable. So sometimes I've had luck with these guys, largely though because they were a new hybrid. Not so lucky yet, but I mean, considering they were a brand new planting that I just planted last fall, I got a lot of flowers, and there's still many that haven't even bloomed yet, so that's exciting. Bear in mind, this is the youngest of the spring gardens. Like I said before, it is going to be Disney World-esque when I'm done with it. This is just the stuff coming up, but how wonderful it is. There's fiddlehead ferns. I got some on the side. There's pachysandra. These spireas are going to turn a beautiful pink. We have variegated hostas. This is a shady area, so ultimately when you see it next, I'm going to have it filled with impatiens and all shade lovers, the most amazing bicolored coleuses you've ever seen. So they're all going to fill in here and make this place look quite lovely, but this is just the bones of what's going to come up here. Fantastic. Here's my beautiful, dainty phlox. Pay no attention to that wind, but we are out here, and it's a nice cool breeze. I love it. Anyway, phlox is quite the sun lover, so that's why it's planted right here. It gets an intense amount of direct sunlight, and right behind me is a wine-colored weigela. It's not even in bloom yet. It's only set its buds. When this baby opens, you're not going to see a single leaf on it. It's going to be so awesome. So we're going to have to film this in a couple of weeks when it's just going to explode with color. This baby is a much larger form of spirea. It's a bush, and the nickname for it is bridal bush. So if you take a sort of a view of it from a distance, you'll notice it's going to really get quite full, quite lush, quite lovely with these little mini bridal bouquets. One thing about it though is it does get infested with aphids. It's one of the few that aphids like, but I always manage to take care of those aphids. I go to the nursery, pick up a pack of ladybugs, sprinkle them all over this guy, and in one day the aphids are all gone. The ladybugs have actually feasted on this particular plant. And then the ladybugs are off taking care of anything else that gets in the way. Right next to me, by the way, I don't know if we can pan over there without getting you dizzy, is a unbelievable wisteria. When I lost a bunch of trees last year, in fact, that's the reason I had my knee surgery, we lost 350-foot hickories in a storm in 2010, the Ides of March week. It took down everything, including this beautiful wisteria that had climbed up 150 feet on the hickory. However, when the hickories were ultimately cut down and taken away, these guys are so tenacious, it came back, and now it's looking for something to climb up. I tell you, if I sat here long enough, it would wrap itself around me. So what we got in the window boxes, fresh chives and Jerusalem artichokes. You can actually eat this root. These guys will grow to be about, I'd say, 10 feet tall, maybe even taller, and they turn into sunflowers. They won't bloom until September. But what I love about the chives is, these guys were planted, and by the way, I just noticed there's some strawberries in here. These guys were planted, you have to excuse it's school bus time for the kids. They were all planted last year, but what's so fantastic about them is they come up every year. So all I gotta do is kind of refertilize them. I don't have to replant them. And these chives, man, I had them yesterday on a bagel. Fantastico. I'm delighted that it's just been a few weeks and I'm already able to get myself into these positions again. I'm a quick recoverer. These are all the azaleas. We have many, many more. I must have 50 of them all over the property in oranges and yellows that will blow your mind. This is the pink variety, and if you notice, there's also some delightful remains of grape hyacinths coming up with them as well. They're a little bit past their peak, but they're just so cute. So we had a bunch here to begin with. I filled in all these spots with additional azaleas. We've got pussy willows coming up, the red maples. These are all going to be tiger lilies, and of course my favorite ferns. So I know some people say that azaleas, they come and go so quickly. I don't mind because when they do arrive, they're so fluorescently beautiful, it's worth it. So now, let's do a garden read. Okay, thinking cap on. Cards available. Let's see what the cards have to say. This is the first time this year I get to read you guys in nature. So we've got some cardinals singing and some catbirds singing. But let's see what the vibes have to say today in this right now unkempt garden that's going to be quite manicured the next time you see one of these videos. Okay, so in nature, on a beautiful day, 5:10, the vibrational fields say this. The waxing to full flower, or rabbit moon, some say, says this. Number 1. Okay, the vibration says, maybe you're thinking too much. A lot of this vibe has to do with the winter. This is the past. So this vibe suggests, you know what? Don't let your heart be broken to smithereens about certain things that happened in the winter, maybe things that didn't pan out the way you'd hoped they would, or maybe the notion that, I don't know. You never know. I mean, each one of us has a different story of what caused us so much grief this winter. It was a rough winter. In the Northeast, it was highly precipitous. It wasn't the coldest winter I felt, but it was certainly full of snow. Anyway, the point, though, is, if it suggests a number 5, which says you think a lot, don't let that pentagram point down and drain you of energy. Let the pentagram point up and fill you with energy. So it has a lot to do with your choice. Think positively. Okay, number 2 says this. Okay, the vibrational field suggests the spirit realm and the forgotten. Now, the grounds we are doing this reading on are over 120 years old. The house behind me was built by Captain Raynor in the 1800s when Freeport was called Raynor Town in honor of him. When you see vibrational fields like the forgotten coming through, all these spirits, be they animal or human, are saying, don't forget me. Because let's face it, all these flowers and plants that are being pushed out of the earth in May, May's the opposite of October, All Hallows. They are feeding on any pet, any person, any plant that ever fell into the earth or was buried into the earth. This is how the earth sings in flowers. Next vibrational field says this. Top of the pyramid today for us, all of us, says this. Nice violet. We got a lot of them growing in the yard today. Okay, the vibration clearly is a different one. Again, these vibes are Daniel-esque. They have nothing to do with tarot. I've seen that before. But this vibe is something I wrote on it long ago. Expand yourself by going beyond your own habits, maybe your own prejudices. Be courageous and develop yourself through courages. You could move through great distances as a result of thinking that way. Perceive God in everything. So, when I see you again, you're going to be blown away by the water features, the statuary, the incense urns, and everything else. But right now, it's kind of nice to see the garden the way God had intended it to be. Just natural. Enjoy your spring. I heard your voice in the garden.